What a night of action then in Italy. Juventus won, Crotone won. It's how it finished. Juve had the lead for quite a while. Meanwhile, Napoli were behind against Udinese. Napoli, though, coming behind to win that game by 4-2. Meanwhile, Roma with the win. Lazio with an extraordinary comeback to win 4-3, keeping them in fourth, 1 point ahead of Inter Milan. Gab, let's start with Juve, shall we? 1-0 up early on against Crotone. You expected them to kick on, you know, win the game comfortably, but they seemed a bit nervy.
They were undoubtedly nervy. Paulo Dybala had a rough time, but I also want to give a shout out here to Crotone, because we've seen this time and again this season, whether it's Spal who also held Juventus to a point, whether it's Benevento who certainly ran them close for as long as they could. These teams near the bottom, for whatever reason, Juventus seem to have issues with them, and then you have 6'8" Mr. Simi doing his Cristiano Ronaldo impression, and it all goes haywire.
Well, you take a look at Napoli, Gab. It's not the first time we've seen them do this season, come from behind. You look ahead to their clash against Juventus. They come in, obviously, as underdogs, as visitors. Before we look ahead to that game in Turin, you talk about Napoli, and some people talk about them throwing away the title. Yet, if they were going to do so, they could have done it 2 or 3 weeks ago. They keep just finding that extra bit of fight, don't they?
Absolutely. You know what? I mean, I think the biggest takeaway, whatever happens in Napoli's season, is that age-old stereotype whereby, when the going got tough, Napoli were going to fold, how they were too tired, how they weren't deep enough, how they weren't mentally tough enough, and goodness, nobody can match Juve's mental toughness. Well, I think they've shown it, because with less tools than Juventus, they're right there. They're 4 points back. I think nobody could have expected it. They're winning points at a rate that would have been good enough to win the championship easily most years. And I think that's a credit, because they do find a way to dig deep and come back, and they've done it already 4 or 5 times this season.
What do you think, boys? And Napoli, a slightly different animal that maybe we gave them credit.
Guess who's winning Serie A?
Yeah?
Juventus. We can talk all day about how great Napoli's done. They've looked dead and buried a couple of times. But guess what? Juventus, regardless of how stylish you're looking for it or whatever, they get it done. And this game coming up at the weekend, I'm putting my money on 1-0 Juventus, because that's what they do, and they will kill this off.
And you don't put your money on much.
No. My wallet is firmly in my pocket normally, but on this occasion, you got to go with Juve.
Yeah, as much as we are, and Gab is going in the direction of saying, okay, well, Napoli's done great up until this point, and they've shown the fight, and they've shown the spirit, and all these other things. Are we deep enough? Are we not deep enough? We're not tired? Are we tired? Whatever. They're 4 points behind. So all of these things, it's all great, Napoli. It's all fantastic, but you're still 4 points behind.
Could be 1 point, though, after the weekend.
Saying who?
Hey, by the way, you know what the key is, though? No. Behind. When you're behind, you don't win anything.
It's not about, listen, you guys, it's not like they may be 4 points behind. They're going to finish the season with one of the top 5 Serie A points totals in history. Okay,
doesn't matter.
They're really, really good. They've been really, really dominant against everybody. And they may end up 4 points behind. But why do we keep track of points? It's not just to decide who finishes first. It's to decide how they've done. And against the rest of Serie A, they have been absolutely dominant.
First,
almost
second,
as dominant
third,
as
fourth,
Juve.
and who gets relegated. And who gets in the European spots.
Yeah, there's
That's
a
why
difference
we have
between
points.
finishing... Yeah, no, but that's the whole thing. I mean, there's a difference between winning a league with 70 points or finishing second, 25 points behind, and running a team so close that you're 4 points behind. You could be 1 point behind come Sunday night, and at the same time doing it to a team that's going to come close to 100 points this season. That's pretty spectacular. Any way you slice it.
I got to be honest, Gab, I haven't got.
Any way you slice it, it's called being first or second. Regardless of how many points you are behind, it only matters who's got the most, who's number one. That's what it's all about.
So it wouldn't give you any sort of solace in the fact that you would have
No,
this.
absolutely not. If somebody turned around to me and said, you know what, I thought you were really unlucky. You know, in the last 5 years, you would have won the league, but unfortunately this year you didn't, but well done. I would have absolutely no joy or any satisfaction from that at all. In fact, if anything, it made me feel worse.
So we're going to give you a second trophy. You would have won it last year trophy, but you haven't won it this year. And by the way, I tell you what, I hope Napoli stuff them. I hope Napoli stuff Juventus, because I'm sick to death of all this Juventus moaning off the back of the Real Madrid decision in the Champions League game. And I know the rest of Italy have all piped in and had their say, but Juventus have driven it. And I would hate to see the crocodile tears if Napoli win this league. Because if they moan like they did when Real Madrid knocked them out of the Champions League, it'll be never ending.
I understand what you're saying about the moaning from Juventus, but it's also come from De Laurentiis, who's Napoli. So
Yeah, well, I just said that. I just said it's coming from all Italy,
Right.
but it's been driven by Juventus.
Meanwhile, Gab, let's talk about the race for the top four, shall we? It was spectacular.
Has that got points involved? Or what is it? They're just giving out top 4 places.
I believe there are points involved. Of course, that Lazio game was spectacular against Fiorentina. Meanwhile, Inter with the win and Roma as well. This one looks like it's going to go right down to the wire. How much is going to play into Roma's hands, the fact that obviously they've got Champions League to worry about as well?
I think it's got to affect them, but you know the nice thing about the semi-final is that you know it's all over in it's all over in a week. So you know you're talking about certainly this weekend's tie, and obviously next week. Inter have slightly turned a corner in the sense, but you hesitate to say that because they've let you down so many times in the past. But certainly against Cagliari on Tuesday, they won and they played well, and the Bras showed up, as did Perisic. Which is what Inter need if they're going to score goals. Lazio, I mean, all bets are off. I don't know how Simone Inzaghi is doing it. Smoke and mirrors. They have some outstanding players, but certainly nobody expected them to be where they are and to be in this position. And just like nobody expected them to come back from 2 goals down the way they did against Fiorentina.
How do you handle this if you're Roma, Stevie? Looking at it, obviously, you've got 2 big priorities to finish top 4.
Yeah.
And to take on Liverpool. How do you balance that?
Well, I think the coach has to constantly be on the players and reminding them that the only thing that matters is the next time we step on the field, regardless of what it is, because it's huge for them to get in the Champions League next year.
Yeah.
Of course, some of them, and particularly the fans, will be saying, "Well, we can get. It doesn't matter. We can get in the Champions League if we win the Champions League." But they can't rely on that, and so I think there's no question this is going to affect them. I think they could be in trouble. I think they'll be the team that misses out because of the Champions League. Regardless of whether they beat Liverpool and get to the final or not, I think they've got a tough schedule. They've got a lot of games coming up.
Yeah.
I think they're the team that's going to miss out.
maybe is the time to address your players and say, look, this next few weeks, we're going to need the very best from you. We're going to need you to take care of yourself, take care of your body, do the ice bath, do the massage, everything that you need to do. Because, Dzeko, you need to be at your best. Because player after player, you need to perform at a level that we're going to need you on the Wednesday, and we're going to need you on the weekend, and we're going to need you the following Wednesday, and we're going to need you on the weekend as well. This is when you got to lean on your heavy players, on your heavy money players, on the playmakers, on the goal scorers. This is a moment for Roma.